Okay, so now I have these buildings, but or these boxes, but how do I make them a building? So let's say I want to add some windows to this building here, and I want to put them on this face of the building. Well, I'm going to use that vanishing point. Now, because this is on this particular face, I'm going to just use the one vanishing line. Okay, so here's my window here. Just going to bring that in a little bit. I might want to bring my guideline to the front so that it's on top of everything. So to change that, I go right click and say arrange, bring to front. Now it's going to be on top of everything, so it's going to be a little easier to see where that line goes. So I'm going to grab this control point and bring it up. I still want to hold down shift so that it stays straight up and down. And then I'm going to put that line through the bottom, the one corner on the bottom, and then bring that up. So everything on this particular face is going to work with the left hand control point. So if I want to continue adding windows, I do have to go through the process of drawing several boxes and moving them into perspective. Now, because these are windows, they probably, in most cases, if this was, say, a skyscraper, be the same width. So instead of drawing a new box, what I may do is grab my selection tool and make a copy of this one and then just change the perspective. So I'm going to hold down the Option key on the keyboard again. Remember, this is to pull out a copy, and I'm going to drag a copy out, holding Shift, and line it up there. Now you can see the perspective is all wrong, but then I would just go in with my direct selection tool and make that fit in with my perspective line. So you'll see that even with windows on a building, that I would have to do this several times, and every window is going to be in slightly a different perspective. Okay, so a little bit of an arduous process here to get it right, but you will be rewarded with a very good looking outcome. Okay, so now if I wanted windows on this side of the building, then I need to be working with this right hand vanishing point. But same process, I would have a rectangle out here. Let's maybe say that wide. Then I'm going to use my vanishing line on this side to line this things up. Now you'll see that in this case, I might want to move both of them down. So to select more than one control point, I can click on one and shift click the other to get them both selected. And then I can pull this down into perspective. I'm also going to move this other thing on top. So I'm going to go bring that, right click, say arrange, and bring to front. And then I know it's not quite right. I'm just going to, oops. I'm just going to select that one and move it up slightly. And then I want to do the same with the bottom here and move that into place as well. And then I would just continue that process with my lines. So I'm option dragging to make a copy, then I'm moving those control points into perspective. I'll do that again with the bottom. Oops. There's an example of me moving the whole thing instead of just the one control point. I'm going to grab just that one and move it up. There we go. Okay, and so on and so forth. Everything on these facing walls would use this vanishing point, and everything on that facing wall would use the other. Now that's true of streets. If I wanted to make a street ground plane here, let's say I have a bit of a sidewalk, So I want to have a sidewalk around this building, but all of this stuff is going to be a block, let's say. So let's just grab a rectangle. This particular one, I'm going to give it a darker ground. So I'm just going to I'm just going to drag it out on the side here, and I'm just going to drag it into perspective. So I'm going to put one up here. This one can come down in the middle. The next one's going to go up here to the vanishing point, and then that last one is going to go just in the middle here somewhere. Now it's sitting on top of everything, so I want to send that to the back. So I right click and say arrange and send to back. And now you can see that I've got this, this ground plane that adheres to perspective as well. So as I build these different streets, I'm going to use my vanishing points to build those streets as well. So I'll just do another one if I wanted to do another block here. Oops. That this one would go from here, still up to the same vanishing point. Okay. And this side, we don't really need to worry about that perspective because it's off the page actually. Okay, and I'm going to send that to the back as well. And now I've got two different blocks. I'll just move my vanishing points out of the way, or vanishing lines out of the way here. So now you can see we've got two different streets as well behind our buildings, and those are also in perspective.